If you have a mortgage when you've lost your job, you have some options available to you that you may not be aware of. And to help us understand those is Blair Collings, a mortgage agent with Dominion Lending. Blair, thanks for joining us. What options do people have if they've lost their job and they have a mortgage as well?
Thank you, Craig. Very glad to be here. And definitely, it's a time of strife when you've lost your job. It's a time of panic. But I'm just here to say that if you do have equity in your home, you happen to have equity, you can borrow up to 80%, of the equity in that home. And, it's great to get advisement whether you should or whether you shouldn't. But for example, if you had 20%, left on your mortgage for your home, you can actually borrow up to 80%, and that's what's allowed. So the good news is you have options, right? Hopefully you have a severance package that's helping you out. You can also use the equity in your home. And here's the thing that people don't think about is, your home is still getting value each and every day, right? Especially in this market when it's a seller's market. So you're not going to lose that, right? It's just going to gain and gain, right? And if you have to borrow equity from your home in order to get cash flow, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's actually something that you've earned, right, over your lifetime. So that's important to think about. And it's oftentimes not a place we want to be. Things were going along smoothly. We were able to pay the bills. But all of a sudden, you know what? Life happens. And our generation, you and I, Craig, we had it good for a long time, right? Many of us, and this is the pandemic has, been our strife. And that is life. Life does happen. But just know that if you have equity in your home, you're doing better than most, and it is a usable asset.
And I think we're primarily talking here about people who may have accumulated some debt. So they lose their job. You've got a severance package, but they also have some debt to deal with. So this seems like it's a good way to consolidate debt and deal with it all at once. Is that correct?
It's fantastic, and it's never been better than right now. Why is that? Because the interest rate is so low. It's the lowest you and I have seen, Greg. It's the lowest our parents have seen. It's the lowest our parents' have seen. So it's a great time to borrow. So, I put out an advertisement the other day. If you have anything where you're paying 2% of debt or more, isn't it worth the conversation? Whether, should we be refinancing and placing that into your mortgage, right? Now that's 2% that I'm asking people to come and ask me. Well, what if you're paying 22%? What if you have a credit card that you cannot pay down month to month? You should be calling me. There's no doubt about it. You should be calling me or someone like me.
Now, we just lost you for a minute there, so I'm going to ask you to go over that again. I'll let me recapture it and tell me what I'm getting right or wrong here. If you've got high credit card debt, you're paying 22% interest. If you have a lot on your line of credit where you're paying, I can't even guess right now, while your mortgage rate is so low, like 1-2% maybe, this is a great time to consolidate into your mortgage where you're paying much lower than you are in the other sources. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. It's the right time, to sneak in some of these, debt payments that you've been paying for a long time, that you've been struggling with. And, and now, the thing about losing your job is you have time to look around, time to think about these things. And why not call your mortgage agent, have him help you figure that out. And the greatest news is you do have options if you have equity in your house.
What options do you offer for people who have lost their job?
Just what type of options? Sorry.
How can you help people? People think of their financial advisor. They think of maybe some insurance people. Maybe they think of their tax people. What services do you provide for people who have lost their job? How can you help them?
For me, it's all about the house and what can we do to restructure. A mortgage is just a loan, right? Mm-hmm. So how can we restructure that loan to make your life easier, to make you happier, to make your wife happier, all that kind of stuff. And
or your husband.
or your husband.
Both
Correct.
ways. Yep.
Absolutely. So that's what you do. I mean, it all starts with a conversation, right? And that's the most important thing. With the lowest rates in history right now, it's time for action, right?
So, Blair, thank you very much. I think you've shown some light on an area that people wouldn't have considered. I wouldn't have thought about it until you approached me with this idea. So, for people who have lost their job, they're facing some financial uncertainty, they maybe are carrying some debt in high interest places, you have offered some options for people. And your contact information will be below this interview. If anyone wants to reach out to you and talk to you about it, they're going to be able to. Blair, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it, Craig. More than happy to help. More than happy to just have an opening conversation. It's free of charge, right? So easy.
Absolutely. And there is nothing wrong with getting information. It's the best thing people can do right now.
Correct.